Hi, come on in. Come on in, everyone. Good to see you all. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Good to see you guys. Come on in. Hi, everyone. Adam, Darren, Evans, Martina, Sarah, William. Hi, William Hill. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Oh, thanks, Evans. That's so sweet. Come on in. There's Mr. Hallett. Let me just go let him in. Hi.
Valerie, nice to see you.
You as well.
Wow.
You as well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You
I-
are?
I've made, yeah, I've made some big changes in my life.
You have?
Yeah,
Are you going to tell us about those?
sure. I've been out. This is so. This is talking as if you and I are alone.
Okay.
So I have never been comfortable going to the doctor.
Mhm.
I grew up. My dad was a farm boy, and he grew up in South Dakota on the farm, and he sort of brought me up with this thing that you know, doctors are expensive. You're going to be, if you go to a doctor, you're going to pay a lot of money, and you can do it yourself, and right. And Sean, my wife, is always like, you need to go to the doctor. You need to take care of yourself. You need to do these things, and through Sean's persistence and me finding a doctor I really like, I've made this huge change, and I just had this radical breakthrough in terms of healthcare, and the same with dental care. I found an all women's dental office, and they're
Of course
and
you
they're
did.
and they're fantastic, and I like all these things, but that so I thought that was appropriate to talk about because it leads into the topic that you and I are sort of talking about today, which is, what do you do during a strike,
Yeah.
right? And so the first thing I want to say was, one of the things to do is to do all the things that you would say you never have time to do. Like, what are the things that you say, oh, I don't have time, or right? Like these questions, right? Like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you in the shape you want to be in? Are you taking care of your teeth? And all this stuff matters to us as actors, right? Like, it matters that we're healthy. It matters that we're actually taking care of ourselves. It matters that we're taking the steps that we say we want to be taking. So I this has been on my mind a lot because I've made a huge change in my life,
Yeah.
and it really impacts me, like that sort of self-care.
Yeah.
That self-care is so huge, and I'm recognizing the way. I mean, I'm a coach, right? And you'd think, like, coaches are good at everything, or coaches are supposed to have all the answers, right? And the truth is that you and I are professional actors.
Yeah.
We deal with the same things, right? We deal with the frustration of not getting cast. We deal with the excitement of getting called back. We deal with all that stuff just like everybody on the call does. And we're not exempt from these struggles and questions, right?
No.
These are the things we face as well. And I encourage, everyone on the call, like, I encourage everybody to take a risk and really speak out with the things that are in front of you and troubling you, or things that you question, because you and I are both really in this space, right? We're not pretend. We, so I just wanted to, I thought that's on my mind, and I thought
It's awesome. I had an audition this morning.
Yay!
For Sig Miguel.
Fantastic.
Is the cookie story.
The cookie man.
Should I tell the cookie story? I haven't told it in a long time.
Tell the cookie story. It's a great story. It's a great story.
Okay, you guys. Speaking of like, we all go through these things. We all have the experiences a lot of times. Like, I think that, you know, people don't really realize that about me because, again, I'm a coach that's helping actors. And so people don't realize that, like, all of the things I talk about, I've been there, done that. And the bit before I tell the cookie story, I just want to say that, like, I have this on my mind because one of the common denominators with everything I've done in both of my acting for businesses that I've had over the last 30 years have been based in finding ways to get around the roadblocks.
Yeah.
For actors, because since the dawn of time, we are the most gaslit profession, and there are constantly roadblocks being thrown in front of us. And I've always, for my own self and the career that I've had, I've always figured a way around those roadblocks, because the only way to really get a career is to break the rules that don't even exist. There's not even a rule book that exists, and find your way around the roadblocks to get to what the thing is that you really want. And honestly, anything that you really desire in your life will come with roadblocks. That's just part of being living. I mean, like, if it was really easy for us to all, if we could just go over here to the left 2 steps and pick up $1 million, we'd all be millionaires. But there's a ton of roadblocks between you and getting that $1 million and anything else you desire in your life. So, one of the things that I used to do and teach my clients to do is drop-offs, right? And I built my own career by doing drop-offs. And so in the 90s, I was doing a play, and me and my best friend were doing the play together. And we decided that we were going to go and invite a bunch of casting directors to our play, and we were going to make little heart-shaped cookies, and we were going to drop them off with a postcard to our show and invite these casting directors to come see our show. Well,
I have never, it never clicked in my head that they were heart-shaped.
Yeah, because the name of the show was called Sex Work.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God. I've heard this story so many times, and I never sank in that they're heart-shaped. That matters so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Oh my God.
Yes.
My
And we
God.
made them, and they were homemade, and they were delicious, because it wasn't around Valentine's Day, so you couldn't buy any heart-shaped cookies when it's not Valentine's. But we made these cookies, right? So we had a blast making them, and then we put them in these little containers with red bows on them with an invitation to our show. And we set out on this day to deliver these cookies. Oh my God, you guys, we got into ABC, and all of the casting directors came out and were like, oh my God, we're going to come see your show. Thanks for the cookies. We were like on cloud 9 because we were having such a fantastic day and having great conversations with all the casting directors. And they were so appreciative of the cookies. And it was in New York. So, you know, it was like, you know, people aren't passive aggressive like they are in LA, like they tell you how it really is. And it was a pleasant, fabulous day. Towards the end of the day, we went to this notoriously mean casting director's office, and we walk into the office, and there's 3 little assistants sitting there. And they were like, oh, thanks for the cookies. And we gave them the cookies, and they said, she's in session. We're like, no problem. Here's the cookies. Give her an invitation. We'd love to see you join us. And they were so happy to get the cookies. It was like they were starving, and they were like looking forward to eating them, right? So we went back in the hall, and we're sort of refiguring our bags, getting ready to set out again. Here comes the casting director with our cookies, and she's screaming at us, like screaming like we just killed her child or something. She's like, you fucking stupid actors. Who told you it was? I mean, she's cussing, she's yelling, and she's giving us our cookies back and yelling and all this stuff. And we were just like, I mean, it was so startling that we were just like, Okay. And I always tell this story because if I had not been with my best friend, all of the good stuff that would have happened that day, I would have forgotten that. I would have made it all about that one bad experience. And I would have said, oh, this means I never should drop off cookies again. That was a bad idea. I'm stupid. Why did I think that was a good idea? Like, I know what I would have told myself. But because I was with my best friend, as soon as the door closed, we burst out laughing because it was so like quantifiably like inappropriate response to getting cookies, especially heart-shaped cookies, as you pointed out. It was hilarious, right? So anyway, cut to 10 years later. And my girlfriend calls me, my best friend. And she's like, I have to tell you something. I had an audition for a lead in a John Leguizamo movie today. And the casting director at the end of my audition said, I don't know if you're going to remember this, but 10 years ago, you and your best friend, Valerie Hubbard, came into an office where I was working and you gave me some cookies and I was so excited for those cookies. And then my bitch of a boss ripped out those cookies out of my hand and gave them back to you and screamed at you. And I was so embarrassed for her behavior that I told myself I would never act like that with actors and that I would look after you and Valerie's career. That casting director was Sigda Miguel. Over the last 20 years, he's cast me in 5 movies. He's brought me in multiple times for movies. And today I had an audition for another movie with him that is playing opposite Scott Glenn, which I've already done a movie opposite Scott Glenn. So weirdly, that's weird. And it's a perfect part for me. And I feel like I'm going to get it. And so I just like, there's the cookie story. And if I could do anything, is whisper in that girl's ear, 30 some years ago when she was getting yelled at by that casting director, don't worry, this will get you at least 5 movies in the future. That's the story.
It's such a fantastic story. And there's so many levels of it. I mean, the heart-shaped cookies, heart shape matters because you didn't just make cookies, you made special cookies. Mm-hmm. You put your heart into it, right? Mm-hmm. And also the other thing is we as actors, we tend to hear and stay with the negative.
Yeah.
Because in the story you said you had this great day and everyone's excited, right? But what hits us is the pain. Yeah. And so when someone treats us badly, we tend to stay with that story. And the reason I mention that is that I hear, actors will be like, I booked the job, and it's it's a recurring, I'm shooting on this show, and then I forget what it's called when you shoot on one show and then you get like recurring. Well, yeah, but it's when you do like Law and Order, and then they have that same character appears on one of the other.
Oh yeah.
And so this person was so excited because the booking rate was top of show for the first one, but the second day of the shoot was just a like a co-star or whatever. And yeah. And I'm thinking to myself like, wow, we tend to stay with the negative instead of celebrating, right? And it's really important, you guys, really important that we find a way to hold on to the positive, right? How do we hold on to the positive? Because in any experience, there's negative, right? There's always an opportunity to stay stuck in the negative. Yeah. And really, this is a great story because it's like, well, which part of this do you want to hold on to, right? And this story is a great story because the reward of the positive is so huge. It's so huge. It's a fantastic story, and it's also a story of entrepreneurism. You guys were totally creative, and you approached this problem with a real creative response, right? Which is, what gives me the right to walk into a casting office? right?
Exactly.
You know, and the answer is we all have the right to walk in the casting office. We're actors.
Yeah.
We're actors. The other thing about this that hits me also is that there's something about actors being treated as the least important in the industry.
Preach it.
Right? I mean, actors are, because we're emotional, right? Our job is to be present and vulnerable and real and creative and playful and right and bring the emotion, right? And so people who are in the business side of things, you know, as the money people or the directors or sometimes even the writers, it's easy to put the actors on the lowest rung of the totem pole. Because we're delicate and we're sensitive and we're vulnerable and we're emotional and we're creatives, right? And the reality is that they wouldn't have a production without us. They can't do it without us. But because we enjoy what we do and we have to play, it's regarded as like less important because we get to play and we're emotional.
Right.
And I would love to hear your take on this, Valerie, because for me, my feeling is that we as actors have to find a way to stand in our power.
Oh my God, that's what I'm all about. That's everything about what I do.
Yeah.
You know, so a couple, you know, which leads me into this whole AI thing, which is what the strike is about and what's important, right? Because well, the most important thing right now during a strike to me is to build human relationships. And that's the roadblock around the AI that's coming our way. Is the way around that roadblock is human relationships, because those cannot be replaced by AI. And so for you guys that don't know, and this is an answer to what you just asked me, there's a new AI called Largo.ai, Largo.ai. And it completely replaces casting directors with AI. It gets rid of casting directors altogether. It's been in development for 6 years, and it was originally developed because it was a way to help productions use AI to do budgets, to get their staff and their time schedule. And like basically the AI comes up with everything that was normally done by human beings, including casting. So they also, like later on, realized that they could also have actors come on the site. And so that way it would get rid of casting directors and they would plug in what they want and AI would deliver them the answers to that cast. Wow. Right. Okay. So a couple things. They were supposed to launch on Monday. They're at Cannes right now. Apparently 2 of their big execs left in order to go join a competitor. So it's not just them, it's other people that are designing the same software. But I met with them, and my issue is that, again, they're charging actors.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's a fucking problem, because I got upset with them because I thought this is what it's always been. It's always been like, we're the low man on the totem pole. We're the last person that gets considered. And yet we're the only person that can't make a movie and a TV show with. And now, even more important, because of this AI, you must be a smart business person, because I will tell you what else happened. Last night, my client got an offer to to scan their face for supposedly a video game. But when they dug deeper, they realized that the scanning of their face was a one-time payment where these people would own their face.
Okay, so this is this gets into another question, which is the value of an agent, right? Because we've talked about what an agent is for and what an agent is not for. Right. Agents are not really there to get us work. That's an illusion. I mean, it's nice when an agent gets us an audition, but usually it's someone we've been reaching out to or someone we've developed a relationship with, and the agent says, "Oh, I got you an audition," right? But this is one of those places where it really is the agent's job, which is to fight for us and to read a contract with us and to protect us. That is really, like, if you really look at what an agent's job is, their job is to help us with a contract and help us to protect us. And what you're describing is really awful and really serious, which is it demands of us to be much more careful business people, because
never before, you guys.
That's right.
Than ever before.
Yep.
This is what's going to happen. And we have to be smarter business people than we ever were before.
And the standardized, the other thing is, when there is a SAG approved contract, right? Or, if a Screen Actors Guild has approved a contract, that contract should presumably protect us, right? But this is why this fight is happening. This is why the strike is happening. Is exactly what Valerie is talking about, which is that there are areas of our industry that have not yet. They're still the Wild West, right? And it hasn't yet been defined. And if we sign away our rights, we're in trouble. And I hear you. This is a big issue.
Yeah,
a big serious issue.
Right. And yes, and Mary's, listen, if you're SAG-AFTRA, we have to vote to strike, and they have to have 65% of us vote. Our general voting turnout is 30%. So we have to vote to take this strike, because if we don't, then that's it for us. That's literally it for us. I mean, if you have not experienced, I'm old enough that I made $40,000 on a commercial. Last year, I did a commercial for Hulu and made $700. People that are non-union are making more money than me. So we have to do something about the streaming and the AI to control it, so they can't use our face in perpetuity. They could take my face and my voice now, because I've done enough television and film. They could take my voice and they could just cast me in something, not pay me, and make up a character. I mean, have you guys seen the video of Joe Biden that they did with AI, where he's saying that President Trump was the worst president ever, which I'm sure he believes, but he never said that. But they made a speech about it using Joe Biden from AI. Wow. Right. And that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So the answer to what you should be doing during the strike is, number one, you should be striking. If you're near picket lines, you should be hitting the picket lines with the writers. It's a way for you to support them and also to meet them. Hello. And two is you should be focusing on relationships with directors and producers and building those human connections, because nothing will trump that. Nothing.
Trump. Sorry. Yes. Nothing trumps. I agree. Nothing trumps nothing is more. Nothing's more significant and more important, more long lasting than a good relationship.
Because like their AI might not deliver you as a choice, but they would deliver you as a choice if they met you and got to know you and you had a connection with them.
I also want to say, just to say it out loud, the SAG-AFTRA vote is to give permission for the board to authorize a strike if necessary. So that's an option. If we don't vote yes on the SAG authorization, what we're saying is you're not allowed, you can't strike, because we have to give the board that option by saying yes. We don't vote yes and they strike. It's that we vote yes, which is they're authorized to take that option.
Yes.
And it's a really important distinction, because I think that people don't necessarily know, and it's good to know what it is we're actually voting on and the consequences of it. If we vote no, we're basically saying you don't have the option to strike, and that means we've taken away their power.
Yeah.
So there are a couple. So Bridget Millar said, I've just done a self-tape for a TV show, and my agent got an email from the CD saying they loved my self-tape and would consider me for more parts on that show, but I wasn't shortlisted this time. This is the second time this is happening to me, and I feel, and I'm feeling frustrated. They didn't say why I wasn't shortlisted. Any thoughts? It's hard to know. It sounds like a very specific circumstance.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it means. I mean,
so I want to say it's really tricky when we try and second guess, because we can get ourselves into knots inside. And I think that the other way to look at it is, hey, they called me twice. That's a callback. They like what I'm doing. They're looking for the perfect role, and that's the way that I look at it. Is that when someone gets repeatedly called in like that, it means that they're basically looking for the right spot for you, and this casting person really likes you. Yeah. So I would see it as a positive and not worry about the negative.
Yeah. Yes. Great.
So William Hill writes, if SAG-AFTRA goes on strike, will members still be able to self-produce their own content under the new media and micro-budget agreements, or will it be a complete work stoppage? That's a good question.
If you're a member of SAG, it's usually a work stoppage. If you're not supposed to work when you're a member of SAG and we're on strike.
Yeah. So Christopher Pan says, greetings, Valerie and James from London, UK. Something's hey Chris. Something's bothering me too, actually. Good thing today I was in one of the private rehearsal rooms at the amazing Globe Theatre, getting some coaching on my Shakespeare speech with one of the current coaches I know, who's just coached all the cast for Comedy of Errors and previews today. I heard myself saying I can't get an audition for the Globe, as I keep writing to the main casting directors there, but nothing coming for the last 8 months. I invited them to see Alexander, which was a triumph last week, and then thought to myself, I need to turn this around. How am I going to get an audition? Do a drop? You just inspired me. Yep. Yeah,
yeah, you're a king of drop-offs, Chris Pan. You built a whole relationship with Ridley Scott because of drop-offs. Yes, Chris, do drop-offs.
That was a clear, good. Okay. Bridget Miller said, so she asked the same question. Thank you for moving it to the Q&A. And Bridget, if you have any follow-up to that, if you have a question, if you want to give more detail, please, feel free to ask it in more detail or be more specific if there's a follow-up to that. So anonymous attendee says, for actors who are thinking about starting voiceover, should we reconsider since AI seems to be taking over the VO industry? No, I have a really strong immediate response to this. No, AI, if you actually listen to the AI recordings, they're soulless. There's always going to be an attempt to replace actors as important or significant, and the reality is that we're like anyone else in the industry. Writers ask the same questions, right? Writers are like, oh my God, is AI going to replace us? And here's the thing: artificial intelligence has the ability to regurgitate in new ways, right? But AI doesn't have life experience. AI doesn't have its own imagination. AI is going to be putting old things together in new ways. Now, we can put old things together in new ways too, but we can also generate and create things that have never been experienced before. And we can go into our heart and soul, and we can also reach people and speak to people, and create relationships. AI can't do that. Now, right? So the answer is, voiceover career. That there may be some books that are going to be given to AI, but they basically have two voices right now in AI. And if you listen to the voices, they just sound really bland, and they're soulless. And if you find an audiobook narrator you really like, for example, they're bringing themselves to the role, and they have personality and innuendo and fluctuations that AI doesn't have. So I don't think that we should ever make the decision not to do something because of the presence of AI.
Yeah, especially because I think, for those of us that read Justine Bateman's tweet about what could happen and what, know that, yes, that could happen and that might happen, but it's not happening right now. It's not happening right now. And there's no reason to detain doing something because it might happen or it could happen. I think that's a ways off. And I think the people that are making the most money right now are voiceover actors. So I think if you have the ability to do that, keep working on that and building that business, yep. Right?
Yep.
By all means, don't ever make a decision based on what might happen. Because as actors, because I work with actors, I see this all the time. Actors are always like, yeah, but what if this happens, or what if that happens, or this could happen? I hear that like all day, every day. And the thing is, it's like, yeah, you could walk outside right now and get hit by a car. But does that mean that you're not going to walk outside and walk your dog or do whatever you want to do? No, you go do what you want to do. And if something happens, it happens.
Yep.
Right. And what we're telling you to do is how to do things to prepare for that. Right. Which is what I've always been telling people. I've been telling people this since the dawn of time. Build relationships with the decision makers, directors, and producers. I've been saying that like a parrot forever. And then I've always said that. And I've always said that, that's the most important thing. I've been saying for the last 8 years that AI was going to come along and replace Actors Access. I knew that was going to happen. That's going to happen. Right. But that's what we're telling you, is to build human relationships. That's the answer. Right. But don't stop doing something because something bad might occur.
Yeah, this crosses across everything. Like, it even goes to the point of walking in a casting room, right? You look around the room and you see all these stars. Do you get up and walk out of the room because there are stars in the room? No. You go and you do what you've prepared, and you do your work, and you believe in yourself, and you get cast, right? And this is, it happens all the time where we're always given a choice. Whenever we want to step forward in the world, whenever we want to take a risk, the universe says, "Are you sure?" Right? The universe challenges us. The universe goes, "Are you sure? Who are you? Who are you to do that?" Right? And that's the universe's way of challenging us. And that's that point of courage, right? That's that point where we have to be like, yes, right? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the risk. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to take out the heart-shaped cookies, right? And it's that movement of courage that really, I mean, if you think about it, it's what sets us apart from the AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like we had Sherry, my friend Sherry, as our guest on the last mastermind. And she was talking, she's in Cannes right now because she has a film and she's going to find the money to produce it. That's why she went there. right? And she said, I tell myself every day, like, do the shit that scares you. She goes, because I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, I didn't do that and I didn't do this because I was scared. Right. And so she does the shit that scares her. And she's already gotten a major star attached. She's working on getting another star attached who's going to be a con. That's another reason she went. And because she's been told if she gets that guy attached, that they will give her the money with one phone call. So, and she knows him. We went to acting school with him. So she's going to get in front of him and give him the script and say, you got to look at the script. I want you to do this. Right. So she's doing the shit. Don't you think that's scary? Yes. He's a fucking movie star, Oscar nominated movie star, but she's going to get him her script. What the fuck? What does she have to lose? Right? Like literally do the shit that scares you.
We all need a banner behind us. Like do the shit that scares you.
That's what I'm gonna name my 3-day event this year.
I love it.
Shit that scares you.
It's so true, right? It's like because the thing is that we it's the challenge place, right? It's that thing like I think of Brene Brown's her quote that she quotes. It's the man and the what are they called? I don't know if you know it. It's the Brene Brown speech, Man in the Arena. I'm going to read it because it matters, right? So it's from Theodore Roosevelt, and it's just it's totally do the shit that scares you, right?
Yeah.
It's not the critic. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, the man, woman, or person in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Do the shit that scares you.
Yeah.
Do it boldly. Go out there and be the person in the arena, because that's the person who's doing the stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Taking the I you know what, I watched Rutger Hauer in Blade Runner last night, just because I just in the mood to see something old that I like, and Rutger Hauer was talking about that film as being such a place of daring and completely out there for him. It was like a perfect fit, and he went for it completely, and it changed his career. Now that movie, Blade Runner, did not do well in the box office, right? And it doesn't matter. See, if you're the person in the arena, if you're daring greatly, if you're taking the bold steps, that's where things are going to happen. But if you're, it's Valerie's story of like, you're outside the door going, I don't know, are we allowed to go in? How do right? Like we have to do the shit that scares us. We have to be bold and take risks and also, face failure, because there is no success without failure.
No, you have to be willing to fail. If you want to be successful, you have to be willing to fail. I mean, that's for sure. And that's something that I've been dealing with a lot lately in my own life, like, okay, I have to be willing to fail. Like, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Margaret Mann says, as a non-union actor, if SAG strikes, I would still want to support actors in the way that I want to support writers, but I would hope to still audition for the same kind of non-union work I would have before. How do I ensure that I'm not working against the strike and not doing work across the picket line? Part of the answer is you don't audition for things that are SAG. You make sure that you're not that it's not a union job, because that's where we cross the line is if we do a job that uses the Writers Guild of America writers or SAG actors and I just heard a story that the trucking union, right? The union is the most powerful of all the unions, and they were driving up to a studio to do a delivery, and they saw. Thank you, Mary. Teamsters. So the Teamsters, they saw some WGA Guild members striking outside. They turned the truck around and went away because they will not cross the line. So, that one of the ways to ensure that is that you make sure that this is not a project that has any union members on it. And if you make sure of that, then you're okay. But if it has union members, or if anyone is striking who's involved in it, then don't do it.
Yeah, that's it. Good. What else? Yeah.
Lisa Pacheco. Hey, James and Val. Thanks for doing this topic. A question about WGA. Are the shows on set now with completed scripts before the strike breaking solidarity by still shooting those completed scripts? I see the picket line shutting them down on occasion, but don't quite get the politics of those situations. So I'll take a stab at that. So one of the concerns and issues is that they still use writers when a show is live on set. Like they don't stop writing. It's very rare. It's very rare for a show to set a script and have no changes whatsoever. So that's the problem. And
yeah, like films, it's a different story because generally the film is written and it's done, especially like the low budget thing that I auditioned for today. Like they want to get it done because they're shooting like now. They want to get it done before writers go on strike and before directors and actors go on strike. So I'm sure that's why they're trying to knock it out right now. And the writing's done, so they don't have any writing to do. With TV shows, you always have a writer on set that's rewriting as it goes. And I think that's part of what they're arguing about in the contract as well, that they don't get paid as much to be on set, that's been a problem. And so that's part of one of their sticking points, I believe, in the strike. Is it not? I think it is.
Yep.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's not good if they're going on, I think.
No, and it can also be a real drag for somebody. Like I've heard stories of writers who waited 10 years for their script to be picked up, and the reality is that they can't negotiate a script right now. And so you have somebody. I mean, it's a sad story, right? You have somebody who for 10 years is trying to get their script picked up, and then it gets picked up and there's a strike. And the answer is doesn't matter. They can't work on it. And right. So it is a hard time. It's tricky. Strikes are really tricky. This is not easy. It's not an easy time. It's not an easy time for the writers. It's not an easy time for actors. There are challenges, but as Valerie's pointed out earlier, there are things you can be doing that are proactive at this moment. And I think that we do need to ask the question, what can I do? Like what can I and should I do to take care of myself and my career at a moment like this? Bridget Millar says, hi, Val James. I'm currently looking for a new agent in the US. Is the writer's strike going to stop agents from taking on new actors?
It is somewhat, yes, Bridget, because at least the ones that I've spoken to feel like they can't do anything for their clients right now. So they don't want to bring on more clients. Is my, what I've been hearing and what I've heard from a few of those agents. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't reach out. And there's so much being cast in the UK area and out of the UK that I think that, because of that and because you have that viability, maybe that you still want to, but I feel like that right now it's not a good time.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we're doing a webinar for you guys that want to know. We're doing a webinar. Sarah's going to put it in the chat. We're doing a webinar on June 9th about how to get an agent. And then we're still doing our summer pitch fest, which is going to be Sunday, July 30th. We'll probably have a lot of good agents there because they'll want to join us for that. But come to the webinar on June 9th, and it's from 1 to 2:45 p.m. It's a free webinar. You just have to sign up. It's Get an Agent is the webinar. So we're still moving in that direction because that's what we do every summer. We do pitches. So, please join us for that. Yeah.
Hey,
so,
Sarah.
Sarah.
So someone asked, are there any major streaming platforms openly supporting the strike? And I'll take a stab at answering that. There may be individuals at organizations who understand the need for the strike, but it is antithetical. They don't want anyone else to have a larger piece of the pie. So the streaming platforms, as far as I know, are all not happy that there's a strike because it costs them money, and it's basically someone asking for a larger piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So about the strike. So Sarah said technically all the studios are happy about the strike because it's saving them money for 3 months. Well,
they'll be unhappy when it hits their stocks. Is Sarah's saying, Sarah spent Saturday evening with a shit ton of writers and producers at the gala that she chaired. And she said, they're talking that they won't even come to the table till it starts to affect their stocks, which is in 90 days. That's what she's saying. Right.
And I mean, I have a family member who's head of a company, and he's not happy about it because it also puts it hits their productions, the things that actually where they need a writer on it. It puts a hold on that. So it's not. I mean, that's an interesting perspective. I'd love to talk to Sarah more about that. Let's see. So Mary McGloin says, what are the most productive things we can do as actors during the WGA strike, as well as possible one of our own? Is it wise to reach out to agents if unrepped or CDs?
No, I would not. Directors and producers. Build your relationships with directors and producers. We're playing the long game here. Send out, get to know producers and directors, whether using LinkedIn, pitching emails. But I wouldn't even really be pitching to them. I would be more like, hey, I would love to, I really loved what you did with this movie. I would love an opportunity to sit down with you now that there's not as much going on right now and talk to you a little bit about your process. I love what you did in X, Y, and Z with X, Y, and Z. Make it about them and make it, you want to sit down with them, build your relationships with directors and producers.
Chris Pan,
that's your number one thing. Yeah.
Chris Pan, follow up. I did something today that was scary, but by just turning up to the producer's office, I want to put my play on at this theater, and he also now has just become artistic director of the theater. Oh, great, fantastic.
Right, fabulous.
Let's see, Seth Donovan, can you please talk about AI and if that will hinder us as human actors? We have been a little bit.
I mean, yes, it will. And I think that eventually it will. I think that right now it's imperative that you become a smart, savvy business person as an actor, that you are really clear about how to read a contract, you have an attorney that can read a contract, that you're really clear that you're not giving away your face for free. There's a thing going on in LA right now where a bunch of the agents are reaching out to their actors, asking them for $800, you can scan your face. Don't do that. Don't do it. I know $800 might be nice right now, but it's not nice if they use your face forever. Right? So I think you just have to be a smart business person, and you have to be building relationships with human relationships with producers and directors. That's how you deal with AI. And if you go to largo.ai, you can certainly sign up for it, get on the wait list, but I wouldn't join it right now, because I want to see what, I've got someone in it that's going to tell me what happens. I would wait and see what's going to happen with it.
Seth Donovan said, can you please talk about AI and if it'll hinder us as human actors? That's done. Okay, sorry. Anonymous attendee, hi, should we still continue our reach outs during the strike? To me, it seems a bit insensitive maybe to reach out when people are fighting for their jobs, their pay and better working conditions. And as a non-union member, how can we support WGA during the strike and SAG and the Directors Guilds if they go on strike?
Okay, well, as a non-union member, if there's striking going on near you, you should go join them. It doesn't matter whether you're a union or non-union. Go join them and support them in the strike. It's a way to meet people and get to know them. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, yes, listen, you guys, these reach outs are not about you. I'm going to say that again. These reach outs are not about you. They are about the other person. You guys are always like, hey, can I get a pitch? Let me tell you something. We have 2 clients that are casting directors and actors. And one of those clients was sharing with me yesterday that when she goes to an event as an actor, they find out she's a casting director and they're always like, oh my God. And she hates that because she's there as an actor. And she talks about all the emails she gets. And she said, I got to tell you a story. One time someone came in for an audition and he was like, oh, I did some research on you and I realized that you're an actor and I watched your reel and you're really good. And she was like, immediately, I liked this guy because he did research about me. He was talking about me, not about himself. Your instincts are to go, can I please have a job? Can you give me an audition? Will you like me? It's always about you. Stop it, stop it, stop it. It cannot be about you. Who is the most important person in any scene, James?
You.
The other person.
I know. Valerie.
Oh, yeah. Right. The other person.
Exactly.
It's the same in the business of acting, you guys. You need to make it about them. So if I'm writing Chloe Zhao, the Oscar winner for Nomadland, I'm not going like, hey, I'm Valerie Hubbard. I really want to work with you. Can you give me an audition and let's meet so you can meet me? No. I'm saying, hey, Chloe Zhao, I saw Nomadland twice. And it really affected me at such a deep, visceral level. I mean, my God, it was obviously the choice for best film. And I really loved the realness of your characters and that line where she said, I can die now because I've seen the swallows hanging upside down. I could so relate with that with myself because I felt like that when I was in a thunderstorm and a lightning storm watching David Bowie. I was like, I don't care if I get struck by lightning. This is fine. I've seen it. Or like when I went to Africa and I saw the elephants and, I saw a cheetah, eat a kudu, like I saw these things and I thought, I'm done now. I'm seeing the glory of the earth and I don't need to see anything else. And you really, oh my God, you're amazing. Can we sit down and have coffee? Right? I'm talking about her art. Right? Oh, you want to sit down and tell me more about how great my film is? Yes, I'd like to do that. Right? That's how you build a relationship. But actors show up hat in hand all of the time. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you do this for me? will you be my agent? I need an agent. I need an acting job. What am I gonna like? That is so it's like nails on a chalkboard. That's why you don't get anywhere in your acting career, because you're showing up so fucking needy. I'm sorry to be blunt about it, but you've got to show up and give. That's how you will get somewhere. That's it. That's what I got to say about that. So yeah, keep reaching out. These people need to be heard right now. The most important need of any human being is to be heard.
So I'm gonna, just as an acting coach,
Yeah.
I want to say also, when it comes to what you're doing with the other actor on camera or on stage, whatever, it's so important that your efforts and your attempt to be meaningful and real and present and connected and emotional have to be about the other person, not about you. It's not about your emotions. It's about what you're doing to the other person. We have to learn to get off of ourselves. That's when we really come to life dynamically. And I know that there are people and teachers who teach other things, like, it's all about what you're feeling and your emotions. It's not. It's about what you're doing to someone else. It's about what you want from them. It's about how you're receiving what they're doing to you. But which is also about connection. So what Valerie's saying, it applies across the board in what we do, right? How can we?
Oh my God, for so long, James, I was like, like trying to be a better listener as an actor. And you're like, listen, and then when you actually hear, oh, all right, your wife died. Like there was a line today where he said, yeah, my Glenda would have liked that.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
If you have the strength to impose your own terms, then you must accept the terms life offers you. That's on my desk. If you haven't the strength to impose your own terms, then you must accept the terms life offers you. T.S. Eliot.
Very good.
Yes. What's next?
Crystal Johnson, where are other smart places to meet directors and producers outside of LinkedIn?
Email. Oh, well, Tosh is on here. Tosh meets people everywhere. Tosh worked at the gala this weekend with Sarah, and he met a ton of people, right? I turn on social media and I see Tosh everywhere. He's on the striking line. The next day, he's at a con event of people that are getting ready to go to con. The next day, he's at a screening. He's out and about, and that's where he's meeting people.
I think that another element of that is that if we're actually paying attention to other people and we're looking at their social media and we're reading about them and we're looking them up, then we get to know their faces and we get to know a little bit about them, and then we encounter people because we're paying attention, and especially in LA where it's an industry town, you're going to see people all over the place, and if you actually have done the homework and people's faces and you can recognize them and you know their names, which is homework, right? Knowing their names and their faces and what they've done is homework. Yeah. If we do that work, then we can actually take advantage of the fact that we live in, and I don't live in LA, but you can take advantage of the fact that you live in a city where people are ever present. So I think that another response to that is, do your homework about knowing who people are and what they've done and what they look like, what their faces are. It's so funny. Like 20 years ago, as an actor, it was really hard to find images of people. And now it's so easy because everybody's in social media. Chris Pan writes again, you see my director invited the producer to come to the show, but he couldn't or didn't, who knows. We only gave one showing. He's put on so many plays of my directors at the Stratford East Theater. Okay, I don't know if there's a question there.
Yeah, so Chris, we always invite people to come see our play. Most of the time they don't come, but it's remember that that's another way to be in front of someone, to invite them to see your play and, and follow up with that. And I love the pictures that you took of you bowing and stuff. Those are great little social media things and another way to show that you're working. So it's not, I used to tell people all the time, why should we invite people to come? They never come. It's not about whether they come or not. It's about you being in front of the people, right? So that's it.
I absolutely agree. It's also, it's a little bit like giving a gift. When you give a gift, you can't sit there looking at the person going like, did you like it? Did you like it? Did you like it? Because that puts a pressure on you and your emotions. And the gift is to release it to the person. So when you invite someone, it's a gift. And if we understand that, then we don't hold on to it. We give the gift freely.
Right.
And trust that sends a message of generosity. As opposed to what Valerie was talking about before, which is the hat in the hand. Oh, please, please, please like me. How do we move into the space where we're like saying, "Hey, I'm doing work. I would love it if you come. If you don't, it's okay. But I'm out in the world doing work." I mean, the person who's out in the world doing work is much more attractive, right? The person who's out in the world doing things and meeting people and taking, building community, that's a much more attractive person than the person who's in the corner going, nobody likes me, nobody casts me, right? Like, this is about being proactive. How can we be empowered to take care of ourselves in a different way? So anonymous attendee, we should give you a name, anonymous attendee. Anan says, I work for a network. I work in tech software. If SAG-AFTRA strike, can I not go to my day survival job? Is that considered crossing the picket line? You work in tech software. That's an interesting question. I don't have an answer for that. Val, do you?
I don't think that that's a problem. If you're working on mostly I don't know what your tech software does, if it works on stuff in post, right? That stuff is still going on. Post people aren't on strike, right?
I think the question is whether so crossing the picket line is if there's a project where a WGA writer is writing on it,
Mhm.
right? And so that the WGA writer leaves the project to strike.
Mhm.
If you go to work on that job where the WGA writer is striking, then you're crossing the picket line. If you're doing a job where there's no WGA writer on it, then it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be an issue. I guess if you want to be more specific about what the company is, where the job is, it might help. But I don't think there's a problem unless you're actually crossing the,
Yeah, unless you're, if you're doing something that's involved with a piece that's still in the works, but if it's already been shot in the can and you're dealing with tech that has to do with either promotion or finishing a project or, putting a project out there, that's still going to happen. That's not going to stop.
Yeah.
That's why, they had a lot of stuff that was already written and ready to go. They had stuff that was ready to go, right? Like films and things like that. So that's being shot. I mean, that's why I auditioned for this film today. It's it's already written. they're gonna get it, they want to get this film done. I assume, because it goes into production like now.
So, so that's all the questions we have. I guess one other thing that I'd love to sort of end with is to talk a little bit and to ask you also, Valerie, about, like, you know, if you were to say, what are the most important things that people should be doing right now, right? So there's a strike, and what are the things that we can focus on and put our energy into? What would you say is the number one, you know, if there's sort of an
Building
Uber
human-
thing?
The number one thing is, if you're if you're near striking lines, I would go stand with the strike people. I would support them, because it's a way for you to meet people, to build human relationships. And so if you can do that, I would say that's the number one thing. The number two thing. Yeah.
So I want to second that. And you know, people are always asking, well, how can I get to meet the writers? Right. And here we are, writers are on strike. They're going to be right in front of you. So it is indeed such an opportunity to meet writers and to show solidarity with them, and to talk about like a way to, like, build community. Exactly, Sarah. They want to meet you. Yeah. So you guys, that is such a brilliant thing Valerie just said, and I just want to second that. Like, here's this opportunity to meet people in the industry who are not actors, you know, and I think it's just such a great opportunity. Yeah. So you were going to say, Valerie, the second thing?
And the second thing is to build relationships with directors and producers right now. Like, build your relationships with them, work on those relationships, build that human connection, because that is going to be needed, and has always been needed, but now more than ever. That's second thing. The third thing is just to continue to learn and educate yourself about contracts, about business, about having a smart business and being a business savvy actor. And if you need help with that, that's what we do at Actors Fast Track. You can talk to us about that. Sarah will put her link her calendar link in the chat, and you can get on the calendar with Sarah, and you can have a conversation about what it is like to work with us, because my actors are really smart. Like, Tosh is recurring on Bel Air. He's out there on the picket lines. You know, he's out there meeting people. He did an event this weekend where he was connected to that. So, you know, you want to be a smart working actor, right? And if you're not, get on Sarah's calendar and talk to her about how you can do that. That would be the third thing that I would be. I mean, like, I told myself this year that I'm going to become a financial genius. I spend between 2 and 4 hours doing financial studies, yes, every week. I have for the whole year so far. Yesterday, I went to a webinar about investing. Oh my God. You know, sometimes I go to these things, James, and I come away there and I'm like, I'm so fucking stupid. Oh, well, I feel like defeated, because, like, when I get information that I feel like I should know, I get defeated, but I keep showing up.
Well, that's
Yeah.
that is what you said earlier, which is do the shit that scares you. You know?
Yeah, it's the number one thing on my goal sheet for 2023. I became a financial genius, right? I wrote that down on my goal sheet here. And let me tell you, that goal, when I wrote it down, I didn't know what that came with. But I have learned, and I'm learning, and it's been a lot, but I'm doing it, and I'm learning stuff that I've never thought that in a million years. I actually kind of look forward to it sometimes. Last night was a little overwhelming, but when you get new information, it always is overwhelming, you know, and the thing is to push through, because eventually it won't be overwhelming.
No, and that's fantastic. It's courageous. And you're going and you're moving forward. You're taking bold steps in something that you know is valuable to you, but that's hard.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. And, you know, I mean, what could be better than to you know, I mean, that's self-care, right?
Yeah.
That's taking care of you and your business in a powerful way.
Yeah, making those hard calls that scare the shit out of me. Renegotiating debt, getting your APRs lowered on your credit cards, renegotiating your medical debt, like all this stuff I've been doing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's like, you know, but I'm doing it like one step at a time.
That's great.
Right. And how do I do all that stuff? With scripts? I write scripts, right? So I never call without a script. And that's the same thing for you guys that are cold phone calling or whatever. You know, have a plan, write a script. Knowledge is power. You know?
Yeah, and also we're actors, and we know how to memorize a script and prepare it, right? And we're good at that. And so if there's something that feels awkward to you, then writing a script for it is brilliant, right? Because it's sort of like, how can I make this as supported and comfortable as I can for myself? You know, which is great.
Yeah. So, you know, get on the calendar, talk to Sarah, join us for our webinar on June 9th. I'm excited about that. We're going to go ahead as planned with all our events because with our agent pitch this summer, I think we'll be able to get really good agents because they'll be like looking for something to do. So I'm going to bring them because even if they don't sign you now, they could eventually sign you. And like I've had agents that have come to my event before and say, well, we're not really signing anyone. And then they turn around and sign 3 people because they don't understand that what kind of actors they're getting ready to see if they haven't been to one of my events yet.
So we just got one final question. Roy Mason. Sorry I got here late. How long could the strike go on? How does it affect international filming? The longer it goes on, it seems to have more of a global effect, I guess.
Yeah, it will have a global effect because a lot of the stuff that's shooting that you guys are getting auditions for is being written in America. Like, you know, in Romania alone, there's Wednesday, there's Stranger Things, there's Silo, all of this stuff has American writers. So it will shut down because they don't have the American writers. So for sure it will be affected, and chances are, Roy, they won't even get to the negotiating table until 90 days in. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's going to go on a long time. This isn't a short, for all of us, for writers, directors, and actors, we're talking about streaming. When we had this strike the last time, streaming meant you doing web series. There was no Netflix, there was no Uber, there was no Hulu, there was none of, so now it's like, now we have that. And so that's what's happening.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we love you guys so much. And thank you for being here. And we look forward to seeing you on the next event.
Yay, everybody.
Yay. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. All right. We'll see y'all soon.
Everybody. Bye.
Bye.